After knowing that my student has read the Hunger Games novel by Suzanne Collins, the first recommendation I would make to her would be to go watch the movie. The movie does a pretty good job at depicting the book, although there are some scenes that the movie tends to leave out that the book does include, which is why it's always important to read the book before you see the movie. And then I could come back after she's done that and have a discussion with her how she thinks the movie compares to the book, and we could have a lot of discussions in relation to that. Another suggestion that I could recommend to the student would be to read the rest of Suzanne Collins' books. This Hunger Games novel is a series of books, and so I would recommend for her to read the rest of the novels since it is a continuation of this first novel. In addition to that, there are quite a few other novels that exist in the world today that are dealing with a dystopian society, which is what the Hunger Games is based off of. So one of the books that I think a lot of schools incorporate, and my student may or may not have read this already, would be Lord of the Flies. This is very much a dystopian society within this novel, and one of the other things I really like about this book is that the characters in this novel are younger children. So my student can have more connections with them, just like the Hunger Games was based around younger teenage children. So that connection I think is really important, because then when students can see that connection to the characters in the novel, to their real life, I think it becomes much more interesting and beneficial for the students to see that. So this would be a really great dystopian novel that the student could read, since it does have the same kind of theme and it deals with younger children as well. The Giver by Louise Laurie would be another great novel to suggest. This novel again deals with the idea of a dystopian society. It starts actually as a utopian society and then changes into a dystopian society, coining the idea of sameness, so that emotions are kind of eliminated from society. And so this is another great example that I could recommend to my student. There are a lot of other novels that some are classics, some are newer, such as George Orwell's 1984, Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, Huxley's Brave New World, the Maze Runner series by James Dasher. These are all very much dystopian society books that I think my student would enjoy. Each one has a slightly different theme, but they all are related to the Hunger Games. Another one that is a little bit newer would be The Future of Us by Jay Asher and Caroline Maclear. This isn't really a dystopian society, but it does deal with the idea of having a world in which they are a little bit unfamiliar with. The book is set in 1991, and it's a little bit futuristic at that time. And depending on when my student was born, 1991 may be an unfamiliar time period to her, so that might be fresh and new to her as well as it was to the characters in that book. Also, Feed by M.T. Anderson is another current novel, and it deals with a futuristic society and things like that. So I would recommend those novels to my student to read after reading The Hunger Games. There are also plenty of dystopian-based movies that she could view. I might give her an article from an English journal that talks about the benefits of why reading is so important, and kind of discuss that with her and let her know that it really does help to, reading has so many benefits, and one of the benefits is it helps create or spark your creativity. So maybe I could ask her to extend her reading into making her own version of a dystopian society, or talking with her more about what about those dystopian societies intrigues her, and maybe basing a project or a paper or a presentation around that, so that I'm really sparking her interest and playing into what she's interested in, so that she sees the enjoyment and the excitement and the value in reading.